Thank you very much, Amitji, and thanks to Maha Seva for inviting me for having a deliberation on Foreign Exchange Management Act, more particularly foreign direct investment policy, or in a way I would say, or in a way I would say, what are the various modes of funding available to the various projects in India, particularly in a situation and a scenario when because of the economic condition, not now, but if I see my past days when I started my career from consulting after serving more than a decade to the industry, when I started my career with PricewaterhouseCoopers, at that point of time, FDI policy and this project somewhere in 2007 was the main hub at the time of making more and more investment into the construction development per se, which we loosely say real estate. And at that point of time, lots of representation we were talking and discussion under the foreign direct investment policy was taking place with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Always the problem which has been seen, the way Malay was talking about DLF and Unitech, unfortunately or fortunately, this organization belongs to North India. Always the challenge was a raising of fund, because FDI was the only avenue where the FDI, where the funding can be taken into the real estate sector. Somewhere in the lots of changes has been taken place by way of preference share debenture, whether the issuance of preference shares or debenture is possible for the purpose of real estate development or not. And another way of funding, which we popularly known as external commercial borrowing, which is a foreign currency loan, is possible or not. And in 2007, the government Reserve Bank of India has strictly kept it specifically prohibited, considering the situation we have in hand. More particularly, Malay has very beautifully covered the entire structure from the perspective of M&A. Whenever this kind of restructuring is taking place, particularly in nowadays situation, when more particularly we need to consider from the perspective what exactly is available from the perspective of overall restructuring. The major portion is coming, and major problem I would say is coming from the perspective of moving out real estate project out of the system by way of merger or demerger, whatever way restructuring mode and mean we have deciding, because of the simple fact the substantial part of the project is embedded to the earth, that is immovable property, and stamp duty is the major concern for that. As an alternate, someone can analyze and decide if at all it is possible, some view can be taken to have a two type of business into the company, say like O&M structure, consultancy advisory structure, or service maintenance structure, which can be classified as an on a standalone basis an entity undertaking. And if you are able to qualify the test of an undertaking, what you can do, you can move out the undertaking with this project, and accordingly another entity can come for the purpose of having these kind of things, and you have to decide if the stamp duty implication can be minimized or mitigated to the largest extent. Because even if, as he rightly stated, in Gujarat, state of Gujarat, it is 6% and 1% it is a BTA or land parcel or a project unit. If you are naming it as a more particularly stating that it is a unit, it is a business unit per se undertaking I am selling out, it is not the project per se or merger amalgamation order. Still the collector of stamp, because of the pro revenue authority, they always would like to challenge it, stamp duty implication. And I have seen, I was working on one of the transaction when 2,500 crores worth of business was supposed to be merged from wholly owned subsidiary to the holding company, despite of the 1937 notification of beneficial ownership to the extent of 90% has been exempted by Government of India. But various states are still in the process of, withdrawing this notification, so that the exemption will continue to be available. But that still is into the limbo, and accordingly things cannot be taken care of. Or we can think about a scenario when the both two activities within the company is taking place. One is construction development, or other kind of business has been there, to decide to move other business out of the system so that the stamp duty implication can be planned properly. When we talk about these kind of things, we also need to consider from the M&A perspective, if it is possible for us to design such instrument, if the surplus cash is available from the cash is not available, but the general reserve is available, or more particularly I'm talking about the foreign exchange perspective, then the only and only exception under the law which has been created by amendment somewhere in 4 years down the line by Reserve Bank of India, because I was part of that discussion and this committee, where first time RBI has allowed. Of course, there was certain reason behind that cannot be discussed over this forum. That redeemable instrument by way of bonus, redeemable debenture or preference shares out of the general reserves under the scheme of compromise and arrangement can be issued from the through court from by implication or by application of the principle as prescribed under section 230 to 232 of the Companies Act 2013, so that now even if you don't have the surplus cash available over a period of time, as and when you have it, redeemable bonus debenture or preference share can be issued, so that the funding can be taken care of or the past dues can be given to the shareholder, particularly to the shareholder, over a period of time. With this, I would like to start my discussion on the Foreign Exchange Management Act, particularly dealing with the acquisition of immovable property in India, and followed by FDI policy from the perspective of investment into the company which is having a construction and development project. What are the nuances? What the policy says, and certain opportunity available to us from the perspective of this stalled project, not only by way of having a equity infusion, how we can structure it in such a manner so that projects are already been in place for the operating cost for the ongoing service or ongoing activity, how we can fund it, including but not limited to, most recently when the ECB policy got amended, when the new definition of the real estate which has been provided under the ECB policy, how we can take the benefit of it. With this, I am starting my discussion or my presentation, and I am sharing the screen. We are starting with the presentation of FDI condition and construction. Immediately start, if we see from the perspective of for purchase of immovable property in India, when we talk about the applicable rules and regulation under the provision of FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act, subsection 345 of section 6 talks about the acquisition of immovable property in India. FEMA, acquisition and transfer of immovable property outside India, and in acquisition of immovable property in India has been now clubbed under the NDI rules, which we popularly says Foreign Exchange Management Act. Non-debt instrument rules 2019 has been substituted, and the master direction on acquisition and transfer of immovable property under Foreign Exchange Management 1999 has been issued. Key terminology which has been used under the regulations are person resident in India for the purpose of transfer regulation to be considered as a person resident in India for a more than 182 days during course of preceding financial year, but also it includes for the purpose of stay as well as type of Indian visa granted to him should clearly indicate the intention to stay in India for a limited period or indefinite period or for an uncertain period. From the perspective of a definition, non-resident Indian is a person residing outside India who is a citizen of India, and overseas citizen of India is a person resident outside India who is registered as a OCI card holder under section 7 capital A of Citizenship Act 1955. Transfer from the perspective of acquisition of immovable property in India include sale, purchase, mortgage, exchange, pledge, gift, loan, or any other form of transfer of right, title, possession or lien. Relative means relative as defined under the Companies Act 277, which is talking about spouse, husband, wife, brother, sister, and children. Friends, if we see purchase of the immovable property in India by NRI, OCI, purchase other than agricultural land or farmhouse is allowed from resident to NRI or OCI. Acquisition can also take place as a gift other than agricultural land and farmhouse and plantation activity. Acquire any immovable property as an inheritance. That means if the overseas person resident outside India is acquiring that by way of inheritance, a person who has acquired it under the law in force and is a resident at the time of acquisition, only those person can get it, who can give it as an inheritance to the other person. They can sell other than agriculture and farmhouse plantation property to resident or NRI or OCI. They can sell agricultural land only and only to the resident, and they can also get it by way of gift other than agricultural land to NRI, OCI who are relative and resident. Gift or agricultural land to resident and person resident outside India, not being an NRI or OCI who is a spouse of NRI or OCI, may acquire one immovable property other than agricultural land, farmhouse and plantation property jointly with his or her NRI OCI spouse. Payment for immovable property has to be received in India through banking channel and is subject to payment of all taxes and duties or levies in India, and the payment can also be made out of the NRE FCNRB account or NRO account of NRI OCI, and payments should not be made through traveler check or foreign currency notes. Friends, in order to promote this sale of immovable property in India under the current account transaction, window has been provided to the brokerage and broker and commission agent outside India, and also the remittance under current account transaction by way of brokerage or commission per transaction to agent abroad for sale of residential flat or commercial plot in India up to $25,000 or 5% of the inward remittance, whichever is less, is been put under the general permission and has been allowed freely from without having an involvement or without having a permission from Reserve Bank of India. Friends, if we talk about purchase of immovable property by foreign embassy or citizen of other country, foreign embassy and diplomat or consulate general in India, they can purchase, sell immovable property in other than agriculture land or plantation property or farmhouse property in India, provided clearance from the central government of it, from the government of India, Ministry of External Affairs is obtained for such purchase or sale, and consideration for acquisition or immovable property in India is paid out of the fund remitted from abroad through banking channel. Prohibition on citizen of certain country. There are certain countries who are not allowed to have this kind of property, and those are citizens of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, China, Iran, Nepal, Bhutan, Macau, Hong Kong or Democratic People Republic of Korea, irrespective of their residential status, cannot without RBI prior approval acquire any transfer or acquire or transfer any own property other than on lease not exceeding 5 years, and the provision shall not be applicable to OCI, overseas citizen of India. Friends, if any person resident outside India would like to acquire any immovable property in India, they are allowed to acquire by way of lease without permission of Reserve Bank of India only for a period of 5 years. And acquisition by a long-term visa holder, citizen of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, belonging to minority country, Hindu, Christian, Sikh, Parsi, Buddhist or Jain in that country and residing in India, who has been granted a long-term visa by the central government, can purchase only one residential immovable property in India as dwelling unit for self-occupation and only one immovable property for carrying out the self-employment. However, such acquisition is subject to FEMA regulation. Foreign nationals of non-Indian origin resident in India except 11 countries can acquire immovable property in India, and foreign national of a non-Indian origin resident outside India can acquire or transfer immovable property in India on lease not exceeding 5 years, and can acquire immovable property in India by way of inheritance from resident, which we have already also discussed in previous slide. Friends, repatriation of sale proceed is allowed by Reserve Bank of India through authorized dealer. A person who has acquired the immovable property under Section 6, Subsection 5 after seeking an RBI or his successor cannot repatriate the sale proceed of such property without RBI approval. Repatriation is allowed up to $1 million per financial year, is along with other assets of NRI or PI, person of Indian origin, except citizen of Nepal, Bhutan or PIO who has inherited from a person referred in Section 6, Subsection 5, or retired from employment in India, or as a non-resident widower and has inherited asset from her deceased spouse who was an Indian national resident in India. NRI and PO can remit the sale proceeds. Friends, there are restrictions. You have to be careful while we are remitting the sale proceeds. Only the NRI or PO can remit the sale proceed of the immovable property other than agriculture, land, farmhouse or plantation property. Friend, these property called agriculture, land, farmhouse, plantation, even if they get by way of inheritance, etc., through resident, and they acquired through normal channel at that point of time, even those property sale proceeds cannot be taken outside India under the general permission route. And the amount of acquisition, the immovable property was acquired in accordance with the provision of foreign exchange law in force at the time of acquisition or applicable FEMA provision, first condition. And the amount of acquisition of property was paid in foreign exchange received through the banking channel or out of the fund held in the foreign currency non-resident account or out of the fund in a non-resident external account. And in case of residential property, friends, mind it, please keep it in mind. In case of residential property, the repatriation of sale proceed is restricted to not more than such property. Friends, meaning thereby you can be being an NRI or being a PIO, you can hold as many as properties in India, more than 2, but these proceeds is allowed only and only up to 2, and that to only the amount originally invested. Friends, if you talk, this was something which I thought it better to discuss from the perspective of individual or a person who is acquiring more property while they are outside India. But when it comes to acquiring, not by way of acquisition of more property, but to carry out the business activity per se in the form of a complete business opportunity, business sector, and in that scenario, FDI, foreign direct investment policy, is been made into the real estate and construction development. Friend, if you see, FDI policy is broadly governed by, for FDI in India, friends, as you must be aware, is governed by FDI policy framed by Government of India and relevant regulation prescribed, which is now recently NDI rules, which we say 2019, and FDI as depicted into Indian companies permitted either under the automatic route or under the approval route. And the same is determined generally based on the nature of the activity, business to be carried out in India, and the consequential sector classification that would be adopted under FDI regulations. Friends, if you see the overall mechanism, automatic route, no approval is required, and opportunity is available for Indian listed company, unlisted company, even the LLPs are allowed. Under the approval route, prior approval of Government of India is required to be obtained for a particular sector or beyond a specific limit, beyond a threshold as prescribed by Government of India under the FDI policy. It is the Ministry of Commerce and Industry through department called Department for Promotion of Internal or Industrial and International Trade is the governing body who is making this policy. Last consolidated policy has been issued in 2017. Thereafter, in November 2017, FEMA 20 revised FEMA 20R has been issued, and thereafter Reserve Bank of the Government of India has issued the NDI rules, and NDI rules, which is now right now from the FDI perspective is the law of the land of the country, and the FDI is subject to FDI guidelines and pricing norms. Friends, we will move to next slide. Let's understand what exactly we are talking about FDI, FDI from real estate business. What do you mean by real estate business? That has been defined. It includes dealing in land and immovable property with a view to earning profit therefrom, and does not include development of construction or township, construction of residential, commercial premises, road or bridges, educational institution, recreation facility, city or regional level infrastructure, township. Friends, this is called real estate business. FDI in real estate business or construction of farmhouse sector is prohibited and not permitted even under the approval rule. Meaning thereby, however, certain exclusions are there. We need to keep in mind what kind of exclusions are, which we have detailed above in the above part of the definition, and also certain other exclusion, development of township, construction of residential or commercial premises, road or bridges, or investment by REIT, earning of rent income or lease of property not amounting to transfer of property is into the exempted category, and real estate include broking services shall be excluded. Now friends, these three exemptions which we are talking about was not available. Particularly last two exemption, earning of rent or income or lease of property not amounting to transfer, is covered under the exclusion, is under the automatic route, which was earlier not available by way of amendment 4-5 years ago. That has been brought into the picture, and broking business has also been exempted while the review of the policy has taken place last in 2017. Friends, if we talk about FDI per se, if you see, real estate business is banned even now. Only the construction development has been carved out. When we are talking about the construction development, further relaxation why it has been taken place in 2017, major benefit has also been provided, which we are going to discuss during this slide. Under FDI policy, construction development projects shall include development of township, construction of residential, commercial, road and bridges, hotels, resort, hospitals, educational institution, recreation facilities, city and regional level infrastructure and township. FDI up to 100% under automatic route is been allowed virtually without any limitation and restriction, barring few. Those are each phase of the construction development project shall be considered as a separate project. The investor shall be permitted to exit on completion of project or after development of trunk infrastructure, that is road, water supply, street lighting, drainage and sewage. Notwithstanding anything contained in above, a person resident outside India shall be permitted to exit and repatriate foreign investment before the completion of the project under automatic route, provided lock-in period of 3 years has been expired. That means after 3 years of lock-in, you can exit, calculated with reference to each tranche of project investment has been completed. Further, Friends, transfer of stake from person resident outside India to another person resident outside India without repatriation of foreign investment will neither be subject to any lock-in period or note on in permit approval. Friends, what used to happen in the previous regulation, whenever any investor would like to invest, that means NR to NR investment exit is taking place. Government of India used to see it as a exit of investor, whereas the transaction should be no FDI outflow, that is the outflow out of the country should take place. They used to restrict it. They used to say no, not only the investment but also the investor should hold back for next 3-year period of time. Amendment has been proposed and the government has very welcomely approved that and said, look, as long as investment out of the country is not going, any transaction is taking place above the country level, above the India level, we have no problem. Therefore, the specific exemption has been provided by way of repatriation. Between repatriation of the foreign investment will neither be subject to any lock-in or any government approval as long as it is taking place between two non-residents. Project shall confirm the norms and standards including land use requirement and provision of community amenities and common facility as laid down in the applicable building control regulation, bylaws, rules and regulation and other guidelines by state government or municipal authority. Even the concept of 6 months of the commencement of the production or last license has been obtained has been done away. No such a condition in the new rules and regulation has been prescribed. Further, the Indian investee company shall be permitted to sell only developed land, developed plot. For the purpose of this policy, developed plots they have defined means plot where trunk-in facility infrastructure, road, water supply, street, lighting, drainage, and sewerage have been made available. And the Indian investee company shall be responsible for obtaining all necessary approval, including those of the building or layout plan, developing internal peripheral and other infrastructure facility, payment of development, external development, and other charges, and complying with all the requirement as prescribed under the applicable of rules, bylaws, regulation of state government and municipal or local body. State government or municipal or local body governed which approve the building development plan shall monitor compliance of above condition by developer. Friends, if you see the other condition prescribed, FDI is not permitted in entity which is engaged or proposed to engage in real estate business, construction of farmhouse, and trading of transfer or development out. 3-year lock-in is mandatory. FDI in completed project, FDI up to 100%. Under automatic route is permitted. In completed project for operating and managing township, mall, shopping complex, and business center, subject to lock-in period of 5 years. Friends, this is an important point. So far, we used to understand only construction and development means during the construction and development phase, the FDI can come. However, if the project is completed, no FDI can come in such kind of company because it is a constructed property, become immovable, for find place under the definition of the real estate. Therefore, it is not allowed. A special carve out has taken place by this amendment, and it has been said FDI in 100% under automatic route is permitted in completed project for operation and managing. That means O&M services. For O&M services, township, malls, shopping complex, and business centers subject to lock-in period of 3 years, and that they are further defined. Transfer of ownership or control of the investee company under completed project for person resident in India to person resident outside India is also permitted. However, there shall be a lock-in period of 3 years calculated with reference to each tranche of foreign investment and transfer of immovable property, part thereof, property part or thereof is not permitted during this period. That means you can transfer, but as long as since you have invested into the OM and activity, immovable property cannot be transferred. That means it should not happen. The Indian company whose shares has been purchased by them, or they have put money into the OM project, they are taking the ownership and now they are started transferring the unit or the property from the India. That is not possible. However, the 3-year lock-in period of condition or lock-in period is not applicable. Friends, it is important to note a lock-in period shall not apply to hotel and tourism resort, hospital, special economic zone, educational institution, old age home, and investment by NRI or OCIs. And it's the completion of project, it shall be determined as per the local bylaws, rules, and other regulation of the state government. Friends, now we'll move to what transfer in relation to construction, development, or real estate has been prescribed under the FDI regular policy. Transfer, in their view, is sale, exchange, or relinquishment of asset. They have first time defined the word transfer, what all it includes. Sale, exchange, or relinquishment of the asset, extinguishment of any right therein, compulsory acquisition thereof under any law, any transaction involving the allowing the possession of immovable property to be taken or retained in part performance of the contract in some terms of section 53 capital A of TP Act, and any transaction by acquiring capital instrument in a company by way of any agreement or any arrangement or any other manner whatsoever in nature which has the effect of transferring or enabling the enjoyment of any immovable property. Friends, transfer has been defined as I think the most widest coverage to the word transfer has been made, so that directly or indirectly should not be in a position to come way in a situation of transferring by web within 3-year period of time. Friends, once you decide this is possible, now the question comes what kind of eligible investee entities and type of instrument. It can be made in the Indian company as per sectoral cap, partnership firm, proprietorship concern or NRI PO on non-repatriable basis, partnership firm or proprietorship on repatriable basis subject to approval of Government of India, startup companies, LLP in sector, though it is allowed, FDI in LLP in general is allowed as long as sector wherein the FDI is allowed through automatic route and not linked to FDI link and performance condition. That means investment in LLP as an FDI can come only on only those sectors, those are under 100% automatic route and not linked to the performance link condition. But considering the fact there are restrictions from the perspective of 3-year lock-in in construction and development project, therefore FDI in LLP proposed to be engaged in construction development sector is not allowed. That means FDI you cannot have it in LLP. Whenever you're talking about restructuring of the company, converting that into the company, LLP, then you have to be mindful if you are having an existing FDI into a company and you are envisaging to convert into the LLP, then the under automatic route, it is not allowed. You have to approach because LLP condition link, because performance condition is there. Despite of the fact 3-year period has been elapsed, you need to keep in mind what kind of compliance you need to keep. Either you have to have a specific confirmation or clarification from the ministry, that is DPIT or not, that you have to be analyzed and accordingly decided. Of course, SEBI registered trust like we have already discussed, REIT and InvIT and AIF by a venture capital fund can also be you can have. Now the question comes, investment, so type of instrument for FDI. You can issue equity share, you can issue even the partly paid up shares subject to condition 25% payment upfront and balance in 12 months. You can have share warrants subject to the warrant should be converted into capital within 18-month period of time. Convertible debenture into equity, convertible preference share into equity, convertible note by startup, and capital contribution to the LLP. But considering the fact LLP in FDI is not allowed, FDI in LLP is not allowed, therefore for purpose of construction development, this option is not available and sponsor ADR, GDRs. Friends, other way of issuance of instrument is right issue and bonus issue. Share and warrant are not allowed at subject to condition of adherence of the sectoral cap, compliance of Companies Act provision, pricing unlisted company not less than the price offered to the resident, listed company price determined by the company, and pricing guidelines. Friends, mind it, and it is an important point to note here, whenever the Indian company is offering right issue to the existing shareholder, including the non-resident, pricing guidelines are not applicable, friends. However, in case any renunciation is taking place in favor of non-resident, from resident to non-resident, then recently Government of India has clarified under the NDI rules, then the preferential allotment guidelines will apply. If it is not a renunciation, friends, under the right issue or bonus issue, no pricing guidelines, no formula prescribed, you can get it in the face value also. Whenever you're talking about a scenario, particularly in the stall project sector, you can get face value from the existing shareholders, you can get it. But in case the existing shareholder would like to renounce it in favor of someone else, then definitely they need to follow the pricing guidelines. Therefore, this kind of option would not be available in case of renunciation is taking place in some other manner. Fund brought from overseas has to be brought from overseas or out of the NRE, FCNR, account or escrow account. Mode of payment and attendant condition need to be complied. Person who are resident at the time of original acquisition of share shall hold the shares on non-repatriable basis. Merger, demerger, amalgamation, corporate restructuring is taking place. Only merger, demerger is taking place of 2 or more Indian company allowed to have to issue the share to the non-resident shareholders of the non-resident entity And also, friends, nowadays cross-border merger is also allowed whenever you are issuing the shares from inbound merger to by way of inbound merger. When the overseas entity is merging with the Indian company, you can issue the shares to the shareholder of the overseas company. That is also allowed. And you can, under the scheme of merger or demerger approved by the NCLT or competent authority, may issue equity instrument to the existing shareholder subject to compliance of entry rule, general sectoral cap. Friends, you can note it here. They are talking about equity instrument. They are not talking about any redeemable instrument. And Government of India approval in case of breach of sectoral cap, transfer or transferee company not to engage in activity prohibited or FDI, SEBI compliance for listed company, and issue of redeemable instrument out of the general reserve, as we discussed beginning of the session under the scheme of arrangement in terms of capital companies act. Friends, as we discussed from 28th April 2007 followed by June circular in 2007, Reserve Bank of India first time came to a circular conversion of, you can issue convertible instrument. Prior to that, conversion can take place into the preference share also, or one class of preference share to another class of preference share. But thereafter, Government of India realized this mistake and said conversion here means you cannot issue any redeemable instrument by way of redeemable debenture, preference, or optional convertible debenture, or optionally preference share. Because if you are issuing those instruments, those are not convertible into equity, those would be treated as a debt, and therefore you need to comply with the ECB guidelines. Therefore, those provisions has been installed, and it has been said, if you are acquiring that shares, convertible, issuing the convertible instrument, it has to be convertible into equity only. Friends, what happened to, there are a number of real estate projects we are handling where the before April or June 2007 investment has been received, but the conversion has not taken place. Now you would like to extend the time period of that. Friends, circular has been issued. As long as it remained for original period, assuming in 2006 you have issued for 20-year period of time, or sorry, 15-year period of time or 10-year period of time, up to 2016, you can hold it without seeking RBI approval. But any kind of variation into the term, say you want to further renew it for a period of 5 years or 10 years or 14 years, whatever the residual period as provided under the Provisions of Companies Act, which is maximum 20 years, unless it is an infrastructure project, then friends, you have to have the prior approval of Reserve Bank of India. And if someone has extended the period after passing the shareholder resolution without seeking the RBI approval, you have to approach to Reserve Bank of India for seeking post facto approval. RBI may grant such approval, or it may grant for a subject to approval without compounding or with compounding. You have to keep in mind, friends. You can issue the sweat equity also to the shareholders of the company. Friends, as far as the pricing guidelines is concerned, pricing guidelines are pretty clear, straightforward. Any pricing formula prescribed as acceptable on international basis on arm's length price, as may be determined by the registered valuer. The RBI regulation says chartered accountant or the category 1 merchant banker, but nowadays the practical difference is registered value as provided under the Provision of Companies Act. They can issue. The only condition is whenever you are issuing the shares, minimum price which has to be fair market value arrived by the chartered accountant or a merchant banker, which is now a registered valuer on by following any formula as internationally acceptable practice on arm's length price can be the price you can get. And friends, mind it, this is the minimum price which you have to fetch. In case the value of the share is coming, say, arrived by the registered value is coming to 40 rupees or 50 rupees, you have to have minimum 50 rupees. Even more than that, if you want to have anything over and above 50 rupees, say 5 lakh rupees or 50,000 rupees per share, where the value is only 5,000 rupees, is welcome. RBI don't have any restriction. However, in case you want to issue anything less than 50, not allowed, though there is a provision you can approach to Reserve Bank of India any price relaxation, but chances are bleak to get such kind of approval. Any kind of transfer of shares is taking place. If it is taking place from resident to non-resident, then non-resident cannot pay more than fair market value, that means there is a cap. And if it is a other way around, when the non-resident is selling to resident, it can have it at a maximum they have to pay is the fair market value. That means even if you can get it rupee 1 as well. And friends, whenever in a real estate type of sector we have seen and construction development, there used to be a arena when they used to make an investment with a put option and call option, when the non-resident was virtually giving that money for a period of 3 or 5 years with a IRR of 30%, 40%, 50%. And thereafter, the Indian shareholder, because of this clause, were supposed to pay this amount because there was a restriction to buy the shares on a particular price. Reserve Bank of India has come out very, very heavily on that. They said ki put option and call option, any such kind of investment with a heavy IRR or an interest is not allowed. They brought with the regulation, put option, call option is exercisable only and only in a scenario whenever such kind of put option and call option is there in the agreement, which mandate the Indian shareholder or the promoter, Indian resident shareholder need to purchase compulsory the shares of the non-resident shareholder. The two conditions need to be complied for sure. A, the investment should come without assured return, and there should be a minimum lock-in period of 1 year or higher period as may be prescribed in any other law. And at the time of sale, though when this regulation has come in the 2014, they were talking about not more than the price arrived on the latest audited balance sheet based on ROE, return on equity. But now the price relaxation is common for all. That means whenever there is a pricing formula, as if the resident company is selling the shares, it cannot be more than the fair market value. This landmark change has been taken place. While you are converting the shares, the price curve or conversion formula, if you are issuing the convertible instrument, the price or conversion formula of the convertible capital instrument should be determined upfront at the time of issue of instrument, and the price at the time of conversion should not in any case lower than the fair value worked out at the time of issuance shares of instrument. Pricing guidelines for equity shares, CCP and CCD with optionality clause will be as per pricing valuation guideline issued by RBI from time to time. We'll move to next slide, friends. Transfer of equity instrument is possible, assuming in the when in this category, when the stall project is there, what you can do as a additional part. Since the property has already been built up, land has already been purchased, you need not money for the purpose of further construction or M&M. Then you can bring it the capital into the project rather than purchasing of the land. You can do it, and optionality clause we have discussed as well. OCB, if they are transferring their stake, require prior approval, and any transfer between resident and non-resident is further allowed by way of deferred consideration, subject to maximum 25% can be deferred consideration, 75% has to be paid upfront, and that 25%, the maximum tenure is 18 months, and you can have an escrow arrangement also. Sale of listed company shares or security has to be based on the SEBI regulation, friends. Certain reporting, all of you must be aware now, the advanced reporting has been done away. Advanced reporting has been done away. You can file the FCGPR need to be done through. For the purpose of purchase of land, it is not allowed even now under the ECB policy. ECB policy, when it recently got amended, they have prescribed the definition of the real estate, which says real estate activity includes owning or lease property for buying, selling and renting of commercial and residential property or land, and also includes activity either on a fee or contract basis, assigning real estate agent for intermediating in buying, selling, letting or managing real estate. However, it excludes construction, development of industrial park, integrated township or special economic zone, purchase / long-term leasing of industrial land as part of new project, modernization of expansion or existing units, and any activity under infrastructure sector definition. Meaning thereby, friends, even if the ECB policy, whenever you are from the RERA perspective, from the perspective of this real estate, you can have the funding even for the construction and development, not for the purchase of land, like improvement, O&M, etc., general corporate, etc., for working capital perspective as an ECB also. This is another opportunity available to you guys for the purpose of supporting your stall project, friends. That means if we talk about particularly whenever there is a requirement how to fund this project, for an O&M perspective, definitely you can raise the ECB. You can raise the FDI. You can have a scenario when you can use the ECB proceeds also now for the purpose of only the construction, development, and improvement of the existing or expansion of the existing plant, friends. And if none of the condition as prescribed from the perspective, now sorry, I'll go one step back, friends. When government of India, earlier regulation used to be there, lots of real estate project, those who are not coming to the completion because of non receipt of approval from respective government agency, but the land has been purchased and the CLU has been applied or other permission has been applied, those has been turned up by respective state authority or government agency. At that point of time, you can always approach to Ministry of Finance for the Ministry of Commerce and Industry for making a request for sale of land or to sale of or transfer of the project to someone else from the perspective, because you are no more in a position or situation to carry out the business activity. You are necessary to either to sell the land, receive the proceeds, and accordingly take this money out of the system. Considering the ambiguity in the law, there is no such kind of situation has been explained under the regulation, because you have taken the money for the purpose of construction and development, and the project is not starting. Whatever the policy and approval is required to be obtained, you have to take, because while you are proceeding this kind of matter for say NCLT for the purpose of merger, demerger, restructuring, of course, as a matter of process, it goes to Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India generally will ask, okay, you can seek an approval from the Government of India, or they will grant the approval or they will not grant the approval, depending upon the case to case. But in case you want to diversify the sector and you want to make it as a facility for the purpose of renting purpose, that is also possible. Suggested mode, seek a specific conference from the DPIIT so that you should not face any problem. And in case you are not being able to serve it and you are just closing this project, it may be possible authority may come out with you, but more particular enforcement directorate in future point of time, saying you have violated the FDI policy, therefore investigation would take place, and accordingly you need to regularize the law, regularize the default, and go for a compounding. Therefore it is suggested any such kind of restructuring is happening, please proceed to approach to DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, for the purpose of blessing the transaction.